dyslexia that you've heard mentioned already. I've known Ben for only a couple of years, and he's an interesting character, as you'll learn for those of you that don't know him already. He was diagnosed having Parkinson's disease at the age of 29. He did work, his degrees in philosophy and history in Canada. Actually, was born in Nairobi, but then after his degrees moved to Asia and worked in Korea as well as China. And then after his diagnosis, he returned, thankfully for us, returned to Canada to make his mark in Parkinson's disease. And he's really an interesting and important advocate for research. He's questioning and demanding a great deal from the researchers and the physicians. And it's always sort of a pain in the butt sometimes, but that's what we need. I think people that stand up here in my position need the interaction and connection with the patients and their advocates, and it's always very challenging and makes us stop and think about what we're doing and why. And so he's really been an important advocate. He's a prolific author. He's the founder of the Tomorrow Edition, a co-founder of Parkinson Research Advocacy Group, and a patient advisor for World Parkinson Congress. So please welcome Ben.
Hello, everybody. Is this thing as well? No, this one as well. All right, I'll try and use this one. So I'm going to start by saying that I did something that my doctor, who's right over there, would definitely not approve of. I went off my medication for the last couple of hours because I wanted to give you guys a sense of what the real experience of having this disease is kind of like. So as Dr. Lane said, I was diagnosed about 6 years ago, going on 7 years now. And it's been quite a journey that I think I've been on since then. And I'm going to try and take you through that journey, but first I'm just going to try and give you a better sense of what it's like to actually live with this thing day by day. So as I said, at this moment I'm off my medication. So this is kind of what it looks like when you turn completely off, or at least when I'm at this stage of the disease. But the entire day is spent kind of riding these on-off patterns. So I take my medication, it kicks in, then it waits away. But the trick and the kind of key of dealing with a disease like this is being able to embrace uncertainty, being able to cope with not knowing what's going to happen in the future. Not only in the distant future, but very much day to day as well. Even though I just took my medication about 2 minutes ago, I don't really know exactly when it's going to kick in. I don't really know exactly when it's going to spike again. So these fluctuating patterns that you see behind me, they become pretty erratic at times, and it's hard to know exactly what to expect. But in the end, you just have to be able to embrace the uncertainty that comes along with it. And fortunately for me, I think I've been well positioned to embrace that uncertainty because of some of the experiences that I've had in my life. And I'm going to walk you through some of those as well, if this clicker will work. There we go. So for me, the whole journey started here, in Kenya, in Africa, where I was born. I was born to this family here. I'm seated right there with my brother and my parents, who are all somewhere in this vicinity over here. And I realized something lately that I'm very grateful for, and that they kind of instilled in me that's really helped me along in this journey. One, I've realized that there's something in me that's gone through a lot worse than whatever this disease is. There's something in me that's survived up until this point today. And it's really given me the strength and emboldened me to know that whatever else happens in the future, something in me has gone through much worse than what I'm experiencing right now. My parents also gave me something else that I'm not sure that they're completely aware of, but I'm going to try and explain in a minute here. So, when I was about 2 years old, they faced the decision about whether or not to raise a family in Africa. And I think they realized at some point that Africa might not be the best place to raise a young family. But they were lucky enough to have the whole world at their disposal. They were the first the first generation of European Jews that were able to travel and live almost anywhere that they wanted to. And they had a lot of options that they could seek out, a lot of options that they could gravitate towards. But in the end, they chose Canada. And I'm very grateful for this decision for a number of different reasons. Being Canadian, I've come to realize, means a lot of different things. But more than anything else, it's given me access to some of the best minds on the planet. Some of the greatest research, some of the best neuroscientists in the world are here in Toronto. And I can say that pretty confidently now because I've come to know almost all the neuroscientists in this space anyways, all around the world. So I'm very much grateful for that fact that here, having to grow up very close to the center of a lot of the best research on the planet. The other fact of being Canadian is that it really does open up the world to you. I had the freedom to go anywhere I wanted and to do basically anything I wanted with my life, which is something that I think I took for granted at the time, but now I realize was a real blessing, and there's real lucky coincidence that I had that opportunity. And as you'll see in a moment, I think I've taken full advantage of that freedom. So since I graduated, as soon as I graduated basically, I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do, but I did know that I wanted to travel. I wanted to go out and see the world. So here, these are all the places that I've lived for at least a month since I graduated from school. I've spent my life touring the world, working in a variety of different places, getting to know this planet that we live on, and all of the people in it as well. The other thing that I realized that I'm pretty grateful for is everything that's happened over the course of my life. I'm 35 years old now, but I look back, and I was a student of history for some time as well, and I've come to realize just how lucky I am to be born in this era that I'm in. I mean, the past 35 years has seen more progress in a variety of different ways than all of human history combined. One of those in particular is technology. I'm sure there's a lot of people in this room that know this a lot better than I do, but when I was born, this was the height of technology at the time. Today, I can talk to my phone and communicate with people all over the planet in an instant. It's really incredible that the gift that I was given to be able to do that. I realized at some point that I had more tools at my disposal than any king or queen of past lives would have had. I mean, Alexander the Great, no matter what he did, there would be absolutely nothing that he could do to combat this disease. I have a lot more tools at my disposal than he could have ever dreamed even. But there's one aspect of this in particular that I've become particularly grateful for, and that's the advances that have been taking place in biology itself, and in our ability to visualize what's the microscopic world around us. The world that we live in today is rapidly accelerating towards a world in which we're actually going to be able to understand what's going on deep between the cracks in our skin. I mean, the amount of progress that's been made in the last 10 years alone in biology far exceeds all of human history combined. I only dream of what the next 10 years is going to unveil for us as we continue to dive further and learn more and more about everything about the machinery of life and all the little things that make us who we are. And this is enabling a whole wide range of new therapies and new technologies that are helping people like me live better lives. But it's also come with some harsh realities. I've come to realize just how difficult and complicated and how big of a challenge I'm facing and we as a community are facing when we're trying to deal with the degenerating human brain. It's an incredibly complex problem. There are times when I look at it and I start to realize that the pace at which we're progressing forward is not as fast as the pace at which the cells in my brain are dying. Now that can be a harsh reality to grasp at times, but it's an important lesson to keep in mind as we go forward as well. Also, to further compound the problem, this phenomenon that we call Parkinson's is very much a growing problem. Rates of this disease are rising pretty rapidly all around the world. We don't know exactly why, but we have some pretty good ideas, but this is going to be a phenomenon that's going to extend beyond just the people in this room. Okay, there's going to be a growing body of people that are going to be experiencing what I'm experiencing at the moment, unfortunately. But at the end of the day, life is all about perspective, and how you choose to see things. You can see the doom and gloom in almost everything if you really want to, but there's a bright side at the end of every tunnel as well. I've also come to learn that to really deal with anything, I mean, when you look at what we are and who we are, we're a product of our ability to adapt, and our ability to adapt to changing circumstances. And this is the beauty of life, and the genius of life, really, is its ability to adapt to almost anything that the universe throws at it. And if anybody's curious, these pictures are taken by that man over there with the camera. My father over there. But humans have a unique ability to not only adapt physically to situations, but we can prepare ourselves mentally for the challenges to come, and we can fill our heads with all sorts of information that we're going to need to help us better adapt to all of these situations that we face. And this is what I strove to do almost as soon as I got my diagnosis. So at the time I was 29 years old, it took me a couple of years to really kind of get a sense of, frankly, what kind of shit I was in. So I sought out the best minds that I could in the field. I went around the world and I met as many people as I possibly could who might be able to give me some sense of what I'm dealing with and how I might be able to better deal with it going forward. And here are some of those faces that I came across. It's a smorgasbord of patients and researchers and scientists and doctors. There's a couple of Nobel Prize winners and some CEOs thrown in between. But these people have really been my teachers. They're the ones that have helped educate me along the way and gotten me to where I am today. But there's three people in particular that I want to point out for you. First is this guy, Dr. Alfonso Lozano, who's over there, who's my neurologist at Toronto Western. And for all the doctors in the room, I think he's a perfect example of the kind of doctor that I think all patients deserve to have, that all patients should have access to. When I first sent him a letter telling him about my situation, he took a keen interest in me and took a keen interest in my story and really helped guide me along the beginning of my journey here. He spent a lot of time just educating me on the basics of what I was going to need to know. In addition to that, at the end of last year, I came across this paper. I'm not going to bore you with all the details of it, but this paper really, I mean, once in a while you read something in your life that really changes your outlook on life itself. And even though this was buried in the deep and hard-to-read science journal, this paper inspired me in a lot of different ways that I can't really get into right now. But I sought out the authors of this paper. I thought, who were the geniuses behind this seminal piece of biological history? And one of them was the guy who just introduced me, Tony Lang. And I went to him, and I kind of gushed for a while in his office about the genius of everything that I saw in that paper. Here's Tony here, if you don't remember who he was. Tony then instructed me to seek out his co-author, Alberto Espe, whose picture we'll hopefully put in a second. Yeah. So Tony said, go talk to this guy. So this was in January of this past year. And I've been talking to him ever since. And we've had a pretty robust correspondence between ourselves. It's actually culminated in a book that me and him have been writing ever since. And it might also culminate in me moving to where he is in Cincinnati pretty soon. But together, we've been corresponding, like I said, and we came up with this. So this will hopefully, we just actually came to a final agreement with Cambridge University Press about 3 or 4 days ago. And it looks like they're going to be publishing our book, and it's scheduled to be released now in late spring of 2020. And in it, is kind of a template, or our vision, in a sense, for how to combat these things going forward. But looking back at the journey that I took to get to where I am, I feel myself incredibly grateful that I'm in the position that I'm in, both like very literally in the place that I'm in Toronto as well. So I encourage all of you to give generously to what you can. Who knows what other stories you'll cultivate in the future because of your donations here today. So with that, I want to say thank you for taking the time to listen to me. Now let's eat.